Kill him.
My turn.
So, I was cruising around on Cerebi one day, and I found a guy on there who was looking for a battle, and his name was the Ultimate Battler. And I thought, madness! As if the Ultimate Battler would come to a lily place like Cerebi. So, I thought I should take this opportunity and test my skills against obviously the best battler that ever faced Pokemon. So, I start out with my Gengar, and he starts out with the Gardevoir. And I was fearing either Hypnosis or Will-O-Wisp, so I used Sub just to see what it was going to do, and it used Psychic. And I thought, well, that's okay. I just switched to Claydol, even though it's a physical wall. I could take the Psychic, I know it's going to have Thunderbolt, and any status probably won't really matter. So I decided to take this turn to set up some Stealth Rock. And he switches to his Cloyster, which still didn't really bother me because I have special attacks, not physical. So I used Earth Power and did about just over half, but with leftovers it's not going to 2-hit KO. And he uses Spikes, and I thought, well, that's okay, you can keep doing that, I don't care. So I decided that if I hit him with another Earth Power, it won't quite kill him, which worries me because then he might use Explosion. So I decided to switch back to Gengar, and he ended up using Rapid Spin, which is still fine because it didn't work. So he uses Ice Shard, and I was actually predicting the switch, so I used Sub. But Ice Shard didn't actually do much, so I'm not too worried about that. But I decided that now that I got the Sub up, I might as well start attacking. So I used Shadow Ball, and he sort of thinks for a while about what to do. And he ends up going to Spiritomb. And maybe it's just me, but I really hate Spiritomb. I can't stand it. I mean, it's not that great a Pokemon, it really isn't, but it's just what it does is really, really frustrating. Just the fact that you can't get a hold of it and, hit it with anything that's super effective. Like, it just sort of, makes it just that little bit more annoying to beat. Anyway, he used Sucker Punch, so I figured he wouldn't have Shadow Sneak, but he did. But, that's not a big deal. I mean, I lose Gengar, but he's done a pretty good job. And, I bring out Infernape, because I know that Infernape won't get hit too much with the Sucker Punch, and the Shadow Sneak won't do much. And I'm faster than it to get, so it won't be able to Hypnosis or anything. So, I use Flamethrower, but he switches to Rhyperior, which is still fine. I mean, it still takes a fair amount of damage. It did about a third, maybe? A little bit more than a third. And I thought about using Hidden Power Ice, and I wasn't sure if it was going to KO. But I decided to go with it anyway. I just thought, if it doesn't do it, something else is going to come in and finish it off, and I can, start sweeping or something. But I went for it anyway. But he actually switched out, and he went back to Spiritomb. Maybe his death fodder, maybe he thought he was going to survive or something. But either way, I get a crit, and I don't think it mattered really in the long run. I mean, this is the reason I had Infernape in the first place. And he brings in Gardevoir, and I'm not too worried because I have Snorlax now, and Snorlax is just like Claydol. It seems to completely wall this Gardevoir. It didn't seem to have Focus Blast, which is what I was initially worried about, which is why I went to Claydol in the first place. But I thought I'd better scout it out, and I was worried about getting some kind of status anyway. So I went with Crunch. And he switched back to Rhyperior, which is, no big deal. I'm getting some damage in on it, and the Stealth Rock is going to wear it down eventually. But I thought, it doesn't matter too much, because Claydol is still going to wall it, except for Megahorn. But I didn't really care about that too much, because it wasn't that big a deal. I mean, Claydol already got Rocks out, and I decided to use this chance to Rapid Spin to get rid of his Spikes. And I did, and he switches to Staraptor, which I don't really know why. I thought it was going to use U-turn, but it ended up not using U-turn at all. Maybe he was trying to make me think he was going to use U-turn. But I stayed in, because I thought I could take it anyway. And I used Ice Beam just in case it did stay in. And Bravo did a lot of damage, which makes me think it was Choice Banded. So I got rid of Staraptor, and he brings out Gardevoir again. And I didn't really know what it really had planned. So I brought it back, and I brought out Snorlax again. Just in case, I'm still looking out for status here. Because I've only seen 2 of its moves, so I didn't want to get hit with a Will-O-Wisp or Hypnosis on Claydol because it might have been nice to keep it in. But anyway, he switches to Rhyperior again, and I use Crunch, and you know, the same thing happens. I mean, this isn't usually how I battle. I usually don't use walls at all, but this is a new team I'm trying out, and I thought I should probably get a couple of walls in there. And I switched to Claydol because I knew a Mega Horn could be coming, but I'd rather lose Claydol than lose something else, because Claydol had pretty much done its job. He didn't have much in the way of physical sweeping, and as you can see, I brought Gyarados in, which was going to kill it no matter what, and it didn't seem that he had anything else. So Waterfall was 4 times effective. I brought it in, took out Rhyperior, and that was it. Like, you know, it was dealt with. So he brings out Gardevoir, and I knew it was going to have Thunderbolt, but I wasn't sure if A, I was going to be faster, and B, with the Intimidate, that I was actually going to kill it. So I decided to play it safe, go back to Snorlax, and once again, this is the playstyle that I just don't like. I don't like the idea that you can rely on the walls. Like, as you can see, every time I get into trouble, I can just fall back to a wall, which completely, like, stops what he's doing. I don't know, doesn't really appeal to me that much. It makes the game slower. But anyway, he rapid spins and blows away my Stealth Rock, which is fine, because, you know, it wasn't a big deal. And here, I knew he was going to explode. I knew he was, but I didn't have anything left to lose. I figured Snorlax was probably the smallest loss, because anything he had left, Snorlax couldn't really do much to anyway. So I sacrificed Snorlax for the sake of keeping all my sweepers, and I brought out Dragonite nice and fresh. So he brought out his Gardevoir, and I thought about Dragon Dancing, but once again, I've only seen 2 moves, and I'm horrified that he's just going to Will-O-Wisp, and it's going to completely wreck everything. So I just went with the Outrage, and he brings out his last Pokemon, which is Vaporeon, and I have no choice, I got to Outrage again, and I seriously thought I had critted this time, but apparently it's a different Vaporeon. It must have like speed and special attack EVs or something. And I thought, well, if I get a 3-tone Outrage, that'll be great, but, you know, as if I'm that lucky, so I decided to switch out, just save it for next time, because seeing how much it did, even if I keep its health like a third down, my Outrage is going to kill it anyway. So he surfs, predicting I'm going to bring in Fernape, and it doesn't happen. And that's pretty much the game. He decides to run after this. So it was a good game, you know, considering, but, you know, Ultimate Battler, whatever. See you guys.